Welcome back to the Current on the Course. As the Quad Cities' premier event, we know the Classic has a huge impact on our region.
Yeah, thousands of visitors make it out to TPC Deer Run each summer, and that has ripple effects throughout our community. So that's why we're joined by Dave Herrell, President and CEO of Visit Quad Cities, to talk a little bit about that impact. But before we get to that, I want to just have you take us back to 2018 when you first got here.
Right.
What was your impression of the tournament?
Well, I think my impression of the tournament really has morphed over the amount of years I've been in the market. This is absolutely our signature event. This is the biggest thing that we do. I think it's really the standard of the Quad Cities. You know, we're elevated on a global stage, and this opportunity just continues to get stronger every year in terms of what John Deere does, in terms of what the John Deere Classic staff does, in terms of like all the volunteers, the people that are engaged. Every year there's some new element that's just making us stronger as a community, and we're all proud. Like, this is a big resonant pride thing, and I think just the fact that we're all here, happy 4th of July, celebrating together this wonderful signature event, it's such a big deal for the Quad Cities.
I mean, Dave, you're in the tourism industry. What are the numbers behind this? Because you look at how many people come out here, and you got to think they got to eat somewhere. Hotel rooms are probably being booked. What's the numbers you have?
Well, you know, it's well over a $70 million annual economic impact. And, you know, I think that's obviously critically important to like how we want to position the region. But it's also more than that, because I think if you look at the nonprofit impact through Birdies for Charity, the brand identity and the visibility that the tournament generates for the Quad Cities brand across the globe, you can't buy that kind of advertising. And the fact that literally we are the epicenter for PGA Tour golf right now here in the Quad Cities, that's such a big deal. And I think sometimes we might miss the mark in understanding the value and how important this event is just to our broader like economic development story and how we want to move the community forward. This is such a huge catalyst for what we're trying to do from a Quad Cities economic development perspective, tourism, our brand narrative, all of the things that make us great as a community, and this is our opportunity to shine.
So how do you leverage that then? How do you, and maybe not to put you on the spot, but what do you have to do within your organization to make sure that everything around this tournament is bolstered to achieve that?
Well, you know, everybody needs to understand that communities are consumable brands. And so you want to drive tourism. You want to obviously use this as a marketing vehicle. But what is that visitor experience? When people are here, we want them to obviously have an amazing time so they come back time and time again and can really sort of get a feel for what the Quad Cities has to offer. So there's a lot at stake. But it's also a huge chance to think through, like, how are we elevating our story? You know, every community has a story. You know, and if you think about it in music terms, we're going to have, you know, concerts on the Chorus with Dirks and Zach, to have a CMA award winner, to have a Grammy award winner here is such a big deal. Every community has a soundtrack, and the John Deere Classic is a huge piece of that puzzle in terms of like elevating our story and making sure people understand what the Quad Cities is all about. And so it's broader than just the numbers. The numbers are obviously huge, and we're proud of those numbers. We want to see them grow, but this is just about bringing people together and like celebrating what our community has to offer.
I think this is so interesting. Keith Mitchell, who's one of the players who's playing out there today, said on the No Laying Up Golf podcast that he prefers to come to the Classic every single year because he wants to eat at Duck City Bistro, which, by the way, I mean, delicious. Who wouldn't?
Well,
but like,
Jeremy's a pretty special guy.
Exactly. But it's cool to see the way that players connect to the community as well.
They do. I mean, that's such a big piece. So we want the players to have an amazing experience because they all talk. You know, the players, spouses, managers, agents, people in the industry. This is not just about visitors coming in and experiencing the Quad Cities. There's a whole industry around this. And just the fact that we can put our brand on a global stage is such a huge opportunity. This is something that we treasure. You know, it's a tradition. We want to grow it every year. And that takes all of us. Look at what you all are doing here by being on the course multiple days. And so for QAD to be here, right here in 18, is such a big deal. So thank you for everything that you guys do to elevate our story.
Thanks, Dave.
Let's talk a little bit about, very quickly, there are very big cities around us that do not have a tournament every single year. They may get a PGA tournament every so often, but why then is this community so special? Going back maybe to our community story.
Well, I think, one, we're an engaged community. Look, over 2,000 volunteers are here. the corporate hospitality, a global enterprise like John Deere investing in the tournament year after year, the second longest title sponsor for the PGA Tour, that is such a big deal. You know, this is basically like our NFL football in our backyard. And so it's something that I think not only Visit Quad Cities proud of, but I think everybody, if you're a Quad citizen, this is something to rally around, and it's something that's fun. You know, whether you're 8 or 80, you can be, you know, a part of it. Whether you're a volunteer, a sponsor, an individual ticket buyer, you just want to come out and watch Dirks and Zach, you can do that too. So it's got something for everybody.
All right, Dave, we really appreciate your time today. Thank you so much for
Great to
stopping
see you.
by.
Happy 4th.
Happy
Nice to meet
4th.
you.